Hello everybody and welcome back to my Minecraft playtime series. Just in case you missed it, we spent last episode getting every armor trim in the game, including the coveted silence armor trim. And let me tell you, that was not a walk in the park. But look at that completed set. Oh, just seeing this makes me so happy. We've got every trim right here, and I've even got some extras in here. Oh, and in between episodes, I actually put every single armor trim set together. Let me just... There we go. This is just so satisfying to look at. My current set is still completely empty, so if you want to, you can leave a comment down below telling me which set or which combination of sets I should get and wear on a regular basis. There are just so many amazing sets to choose from. I think right now I'm leaning towards maybe Razor or Flow. I don't know, I kind of like Tide. And of course there's Silence we could do just for the flex. And in case you were wondering how many diamonds it took to copy all of these armor trims, the answer is 56. 56 diamond blocks. Yeah, it's quite a bit. Enough that we're actually kind of starting to run low on diamonds. Or at least we would be if it wasn't for this. Yeah, you remember that mountain we made a couple episodes right up there? That thing took a lot of deep slate and I got a lot of diamonds out of it. So maybe sometime down the line we can go through and see how many diamonds we get out of that. But for today, I've got something pretty interesting planned. I think it's about time we go back across the river and we finally get to work covering up this monstrosity of a storage system. It looks absolutely breathtaking on the inside, but unfortunately, the same can't really be said about the outside. I mean, yes, there is something to be said for how awesome redstone can look from the outside, but it just doesn't really fit the aesthetic I'm going for. Now, typically, I try to give you at least some kind of an idea of what I'm building before I start, but I think my idea for this might be so out of left field that the best way for me to explain is probably to start building. Doesn't look great from this angle, but I really like how it looks from the front. Now I know this is a really big departure in style from everything else that I've done, but trust me, there's a reason. Those of you that have been around for a while will know that I love to take inspiration from things around me. Stuff like the pavilion, and even this little village down here are all inspired by things that I've actually seen, whereas other stuff like the bridge and the library are all inspired by stuff I've seen in pictures or places that I want to go. And I think when it comes to inspiration, there are different levels of inspiration. For example, this bridge here is almost identical to the Jade Belt Bridge in China. I didn't really change up much. I just, I built it here and I think it looks great. Other things like the library here or even these huge mountains up above, I had inspiration, but they weren't really copied. Rather than just recreating the mountains, I wanted to instead just get the feel of the mountains. The set of buildings that I'm putting on the other side of the river are a totally different kind of inspiration. In this case, I was inspired by the city of Guangzhou, and I know that 90% of you here aren't really here for a history lesson, and well, I'm probably not qualified to teach a history lesson anyway. But long story short, from basically the mid-17 to mid-1800s, there was only one port where Western powers could actually trade, and that was in Guangzhou. And specifically in just one neighborhood was where all the trading was done. And the cool thing for me besides the history is that architecturally, when you look at paintings of those buildings, they all looked like they were designed with Western style facades. And I think that's just such a cool idea, and I just had to implement it here. Obviously, they look nothing like this, but I've been wanting to build in a sort of Dutch style for a really long time. I've never been to the Netherlands, by the way, but you know those pictures that you see of the colorful, kind of tall buildings all squished up together along the riverbank? They've got like these distinctive roofs and stuff like that. I don't know, I just think they're really cool, and I wanted to try and build something kind of like that. And of course, I took some artistic liberties here, but I think it looks really cool. And just the idea that this is a facade hiding our storage system, it seems particularly fitting considering the neighborhood that this was based off of was essentially just a bunch of merchant buildings hidden behind a Western facade. And now for everybody who hasn't gotten scared off by all of my ramblings, I think it's time we get another building in here. It may be a little bit hard to tell just because they're only facades at this point, but I've been sinking a lot of time into designing these. Probably too much, to be honest. And one of the reasons this has all taken so much time is because I want each building over here to look distinct. Like I mentioned earlier, this is all in a much different style than the rest of what I've built. So when you come in here, these are going to stick out so much more than everything else, so I really want to make sure that I nail them. I especially love these big windows down below. They've got this unique shape with the dark oak panes in here and then the cherry trapdoors behind. And if you actually go a little bit farther away, it almost looks like they have curtains in them, and I just think it's really, really pretty. The other thing that I'm really proud of on this building are these little support beams coming down. I went for a lighter brown with the spruce wood and then the mud brick walls. It contrasts pretty well with the darker brown walls, but it also still goes well with the cherry, and I think it goes together so well, especially with the lanterns at the bottom. And then we've got all sorts of different shapes of windows. We've got these big ones at the bottom, we've got the 2x1s. Going up, we go to the 2x3s, and then we've got several circular windows. Oh, and that roof shape is just so pretty. Yeah, I just really like how this one came together. And don't get me wrong, I like this one as well. In fact, I really took a big risk, I think, on these windows. I have no idea what this shape is supposed to be, but I just kind of started fiddling with it, and you know what? I think I kind of like it. It gives the whole building its own unique flair, and honestly, I very rarely use this orange terracotta and acacia wood combo, and I think it looks pretty good. I again went with the dark oak for the highlights, and rather than the balconies like we have over on this one, I just put like a really simple separating, you know, I don't even know what this is called. You know, sometimes when you're building, you don't really know what you're doing, but it just looks better that way. This is one of those times. Especially when designing something like this, you really need to toe that line between the build being too busy and there not being enough detail. And I think I did a pretty decent job here. Oh, and before I get to the next building, do you like these composters here? I wasn't really sure what I thought at first, but the more I look at them, the more I think it actually looks pretty good. Especially from farther away, it just, I don't know, it outlines the house. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know what you think. But okay, enough talking about these buildings. We've got to move to this last one. And while there are going to be more than 3 here, I've only got 3 of them planned right now. If I'm being honest, I'm pretty picky about what I actually put in this world. I feel like I've designed like 7 or 8 of these, and well, these are the only ones that I'm actually happy with at this point. So we're going to get this one in. It's very different from the others, and the color palette may be a little bit much, but I still think you guys are going to like it. So this one is a lot crazier than the other two. We went for the tried and true Netherwoods palette, using the crimson wood for the wall color and then the warped wood for the highlights. And I think it turned out really well. One thing that I'm really happy with is rather than only going for the woods, I decided to supplement the crimson wood with some of this purple terracotta. And for the warped wood, we supplemented it with the copper. And I think just that small addition really makes the build a lot more dynamic. And with that really nice gray color provided by the acacia wood and then the tough bricks down here, I really think it turned out well. Now, as I mentioned, I only have these 3 builds prepared right now. I think we might put 1 more here on this side, and then I don't know, I think we could probably fit 2 over here. It really just depends on how thin I decide to go with it. Because for example, this one right here is very, very thin, whereas the brown one is quite thick, so things could really go either way. The other big problem that I have is the depth over here is going to be even more of an issue than it is over there, because I've got very, very little space to work with. But to be honest, I'm really not that worried about it. We're just gonna make these into, I don't know, sort of dollhouse interiors. They're just gonna be fake. My only real goal with any of these interiors is to make sure that they look good from the outside, because as you can see now, being able to see the sky and all of this blue behind there, it's definitely not what we're going for. And I just want to take this brief moment, since it's nighttime, to let you see what it looks like at night, and I think it looks really nice. I tried to pepper the builds with lanterns everywhere just to make sure that it stays really bright, because like I said, I want this side of the river to contrast heavily with this side. This side is very heavily urbanized, whereas over here we've got trees, we've got flowers, and just sort of a garden area. And then even stylistically, on this side we've got an East Asian theme, and then over here we've got a Dutch theme. But even going beyond that, over on this side I want it to be very bright, whereas here we've got more selective light. The pavilion's got some lanterns, and everything is just a little bit lit up with glow lichen, but nothing like this. And I think it'll look even better once we finish underneath here, where We're obviously not gonna have all these torches and just random stone down below. But just for now, I think we're gonna do the tried and true, just cover it up with black concrete to make it look fine, and then we can deal with the rest of the interior later. By the way, did I mention how nice it is to be building something right next to my storage system? It's just so incredibly convenient. I barely had to do any resource gathering, and in that very rare moment when I was actually missing something, I could just, oh, drop what I'm doing, quickly run over here and just grab it. It's so nice. And there's that. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty disproportionately upset that I missed that in the time lapse, but that looks a lot better for now. Now, of course, eventually we'll come back and we'll get, you know, a little bit of a roof going on here. We'll get some rooms inside. It's never gonna be anything crazy, but it'll at least look decent. And honestly, hopefully it already looks pretty decent because I'm actually really, really happy with how these turned out. But enough about this. There's one more thing I want to do today, and it involves this interior. I have been putting this off for way too long, and I think it's about time that I finally get this filled. And after getting all of these armor trims, I think we've got to put them somewhere. So I guess we're doing an interior. And I, like many others, find myself struggling with interiors a lot, but I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I think I've got a general idea of what I want to do. And with this ugly oak floor out of the way, I think I'm just going to do a really simple design by just interlocking these logs like this, and then just strip them all so it looks a little bit better. And before I get too far along, I should mention why I left this spot empty. I think it'd be really cool to have a display case in this big window here. In fact, that was the whole intention in me making it that big in the first place. So I'll just real quick partition this off, get rid of all this dirt in the walls. And actually, I think I'll just go through right now and I will add in a little bit of this polished granite just to match the rest of the walls over here. That's one of the things with these kind of smaller builds is I want to have a pretty decently sized open space, which means that I just don't really have enough room to go all the way through here and make a new interior wall. I mean, I suppose I could cover them up with trapdoors, but I don't know. I think this will look fine. And now just to keep it interesting, I think I'm going to do a slightly different checkerboard pattern on the inside, just something like this with sandstone and polished blackstone. And just in general, I like to keep the roof a little bit darker than the floor. So I think I'm just gonna line it with these dark oak stairs, and then I'll just come in with a little bit more polished blackstone. This is kind of crazy actually. I just got a random amount of blackstone and it just happened to be the perfect amount for the floor and the ceiling. So that worked out. The problem of course now is that it's very dark, and I don't really know that I particularly want to just put a bunch of torches or even lanterns in here. So for lighting, I kind of like the idea of just removing this blackstone here and then grabbing some pearlescent frog lights, or I guess really any frog lights, it doesn't really matter which one, and just placing it along here. And then I'll actually cover it up with these pale trapdoors, and that way we get the lighting effect without actually seeing the lights. Now on the one hand, it does make the room look a little bit more modern than I'd like, but it also looks really cool and I like the light level in here with it, so I think we're just gonna let it slide. Now as far as actually displaying the armor stands goes, I think I've found a pretty interesting way to do it. So if I could just grab a little bit of snow. Now of course I could do the boring old thing of just sticking down armor stands like this, and then, you know, sticking another armor stand down on top and just displaying them like that, but I don't think that'd be very interesting. So instead of that, I'm actually going to be layering it on powdered snow. In fact, actually, if I place just a normal armor stand and then one on this one powdered snow, they're the same level, so I actually don't even need this one. But if I place them like this, you can see it just creates a little bit of a change in height every time, just so we can have something a little bit interesting. And then back behind, we'll just do the same thing, except maybe slightly offset, and then we'll just go like this. I don't think I actually put the right amount of powdered snow on here, but you kind of get the picture. We'll do something like this. Now, come on, you can't tell me that that isn't super satisfying. I think I'll just put some basalt pillars here, and actually, I think just to keep it a little bit different, I'll just put some spruce logs in this one, and then basalt again over here. Go ahead and destroy a couple of these just so that I can make the, I don't know, what do you call this? The wall ceiling separator thing? I don't know, just make that a little bit nicer. And then I think I'll fill in a few more of these dead space areas with some more basalt pillars. And I know it's really not that big of a deal, but just having that little extra bit of basalt sticking out sort of bothers me, so we're just gonna take this out and put it against the wall like that, and I think this looks really good. We can throw in a little mini counter right here, because I like to think of this as maybe like some kind of armor shop, which of course explains the display case out front. And now I'm not gonna do too many more decorations, at least not for now, but just for this side, I think I'm just gonna do the classic piston trick with the armor stands. So if I place armor stands like that, I can put some helmets on them, like so, and then a piston up above, and then just a couple blocks like that. Perfect. And then do it again. Just like that. And then I should be able to break these top ones. And there you go. It just makes it so you can only see the helmet. So it kind of looks like you're displaying a helmet. It's just a neat little trick. And I forgot that I've got a beacon on. That's kind of annoying. I can just throw a couple random pots in here. Maybe a composter here in the corner. Maybe a little shelf on this side. I'll just put a couple flower pots on here maybe. And I mean, there's really not all that much else to do. Maybe a wither rose there and a little fern over here. I mean, when it comes to interiors like this, I'm pretty okay with a minimalist approach. I mean, seriously, who's gonna look at anything besides all of these awesome armor trims when they come in? I suppose one detail that might be kind of fun is we can come in here and we can make this into a little changing room. Don't ask me why I put this window here in the changing room. I just thought it'd be nice to have a little bit of light in here. Actually, it's not too bad. You can't really even see into it even when you're going up the stairs. I mean, unless somebody's climbing up onto the rocks, then you know what? We can just throw a nice little banner in here for the classic American style barrier thing that you can still basically see through. And we can even put one on this side for good measure. And then maybe just a table over here. And I guess like a place to hang clothes or something. I don't know, just use your imagination. And actually, I think it might be kind of cool if I put this in and then I can pop banners down along the back. And actually just get rid of this because I don't think there's any reason for the ceiling to be this high. We can just come down here and see what kind of random armor sets we can get. And I mean, why not? And you know what? I did my best, but I couldn't find any leather pants anywhere. So I guess this guy's just walking around in his shirt and boots. I don't know, must be some kind of new style. And to be honest, I could probably spend a lot more time working in here, but this looks good enough to me. Honestly, I almost prefer just a nice minimalist interior to an overcrowded one. And I guess I was today years old when I found out that you can actually step on a wither rose when it's in a potted plant. So that's cool. But unfortunately, I think that's where I'm gonna have to leave off for this episode. It feels so cool to have this interior finally done. And I also absolutely love the progress we've made over on the other side of the river. Honestly, all of these houses turned out even better than I hoped. We do of course have to finish them because right now they are incredibly thin and they don't really look much good from any angle except for the front. This one right here is particularly rough, but hey, we'll get there eventually. For now, I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone. We passed 500 subscribers in the last episode, and to celebrate, I'm going to be making something absolutely incredible in my next episode. So I hope you guys will look forward to that, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and wow, it just feels like things are really coming together now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next episode. Bye.